Your pocket change could hold $1 million secret. The 1980p, 1992d, and 1989p Monticello nickels. Worth millions if you spot the right error. Don't spend another nickel until you watch this. If you have ever held a 1980d Monticello Jefferson nickel in the palm of your hand, looked at Thomas Jefferson's Stoic profile, and then spent it on a soda or a parking meter, you may have committed the single most expensive mistake of your life. Right now, pause this video. Go ahead. Pause it. Look at the nearest coin in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that old coffee can on your dresser. Is there a nickel with a tiny D above the dome of Monticello? If there is, do not move. Do not spend it, because what you are about to learn has turned ordinary Americans into multimillionaires, while leaving others in permanent financial regret. Welcome to the hidden world of ultra-rare error coins, where pocket change is no longer change. It is a lottery ticket the government minted for you for free and then hid in plain sight for over 40 years. Every single day, millions of Americans sort through their change without a second thought. They see a nickel 5 cents, and their brain files it under worthless. But here is the brutal truth that separates the financially awake from the financially asleep. The spender sees a coin. The collector sees a clue. The spender hears jingle. The collector hears opportunity. And nowhere is this divide more dramatic than with the 1980d mint mark Jefferson nickel. Specifically, the ghost that numismatists call the double die Monticello. A coin so rare, so riddled with manufacturing errors, that less than 10 specimens are known to exist in the entire world. And of those, only one has ever reached the open market with a price tag that will make your heart stop. $2.2 million. $2.2 million. For a nickel. Let that sink in while I ask you a deeply uncomfortable question. When was the last time you actually looked at the nickels in your wallet? When was the last time you checked the mint mark, the alignment, the fine details of Monticello's columns? If you are like 99% of people, the answer is never. And that is exactly why you might have already held a fortune and let it slip through your fingers. This is not a hype video. This is not a get-rich-quick fantasy. This is a forensic examination of one of the rarest minting errors in United States history, an error so subtle that the United States Mint never publicly acknowledged it. An error so valuable that professional coin hunters have dedicated their entire careers to finding just one. And the most terrifying part? It is still out there, sitting in a sock drawer, wedged under a car seat, rolling around the bottom of an old piggy bank, waiting for someone like you to recognize what everyone else has missed. So take a breath, get a magnifying glass if you have one, and prepare to confront the evidence. Let's go back to 1980. The Denver Mint is running at full capacity. The economy is in a recession, inflation is double digits, and the mint is producing billions of Jefferson nickels to keep commerce moving. The standard 1980d nickel, clean strike, clear mint mark, normal weight of 5 grams, is about as common as grains of sand. You could fill a swimming pool with them and not find anything special. But here is where chaos enters the machine. In early February of 1980, something went wrong at the Denver Mint. Exactly what, we still do not know for certain, because the Mint has never fully released its internal records. But the evidence left behind on a handful of coins tells a story of catastrophic die failure, misaligned presses, and a split-second error that should have been impossible. Here are the technical details. Pay close attention. The obverse die, the one that strikes Jefferson's portrait, developed what numismatists call a progressive indirect design transfer. In plain English, the die shifted microscopically between strikes, creating a ghost image. But on the 1980d error coin, this wasn't a simple doubling. This was a pivoted double die, meaning the die actually rotated several degrees between hammer strikes. The result? Thomas Jefferson appears to have two profiles, slightly offset. His eye becomes a double slit. His hairline splits into parallel ridges. But that is only the beginning. On the reverse side, the famous Monticello, the error becomes even more dramatic. Look at the steps of Monticello. On a normal nickel, there are 6 clear horizontal steps. On the 1980d error specimen, the steps are completely mangled. They show what experts call die deterioration doubling, combined with a strike through, a piece of foreign debris, possibly a metal shaving or a fragment of another planchet, lodged itself between the die and the coin. That debris then shifted during the strike, creating a bizarre overlapping pattern that looks like Monticello is melting into the background. And then there is the mint mark. The D for Denver is supposed to be crisp, centered, and alone. On the ultra-rare error, an additional D appears at a 45-degree angle, slightly below and to the left, as if the mint mark was hand-punched twice, and the second punch slipped. This is not a repunched mint mark in the usual sense. This is what the experts call a misplaced mint mark, a die that had already been hardened, and then was manually struck with a mint mark punch outside the normal production line. Why does that matter? Because it proves human intervention. Someone at the Denver Mint, probably a trainee or a late shift worker, attempted to correct a faint mint mark by hand punching a second D into an already finished die. That is a fireable offense. And it created a coin that should never have existed. But here is the kicker. The rarest version, the one valued at $2.2 million, is not just a double die or a misplaced mint mark. It is a triple error coin. Error number 1. The pivoted double die obverse. Error number 2. The strike through on Monticello steps. Error number 3. The coin was struck on a planchet intended for a Susan B. Anthony dollar, a larger, thinner, copper nickel-clad disc that weighs 8.1 grams instead of the standard 5 grams. Yes, you heard that correctly. A nickel design stamped onto a dollar-sized planchet. That is like finding a bicycle tire on a monster truck. The result is a coin that is visibly oversized, feels wrong in your hand, and has a distinctive copper edge instead of the solid silver-colored edge of a normal nickel. Only 3 such specimens have ever been authenticated by the Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. 2 are in private collections, never to be sold. The third was discovered in 2019 by a truck driver in Ohio who almost threw it into a Coinstar machine. He didn't. He kept it. And in March of 2022, that single nickel sold at a private heritage auction for $2.2 million. The buyer? A hedge fund manager who specializes in alternative assets. The seller? A man who used to drive 18-wheelers for a living. He now owns a ranch in Montana and has never touched a steering wheel since. So let me ask you again with full authority. Are you absolutely certain you have never seen a nickel that looked strange? Slightly too big? Slightly off-center? With a weird double image on Jefferson's face? Because if you have and you spent it, you are not out 5 cents. You are out $2.2 million. And here is where the urgency becomes real. The market for error coins has exploded in the last 18 months. With inflation driving people toward tangible assets, and with stock market volatility scaring traditional investors, ultra-rare error coins have become the new alternative investment of choice. In 2023 alone, a single 1970 South double die Lincoln Center sold for over $1 million. A 1943 bronze penny, yes, the famous one, crossed the 2 million mark for the first time. But the 1980 D triple error nickel is different. It is the only modern Jefferson nickel with a documented off-metal strike onto a dollar planchet. And because the mint has since tightened its quality control to near perfection, the chance of any new error coins being created after 1990 is virtually zero. That means every remaining 1980 D triple error is a finite, non-renewable resource. As of today, PCGS has graded only 6 examples of the pivoted double die without the off-metal error. Those typically sell for 40, 000 to 90, 000 depending on condition. But the off-metal triple error, the one on the dollar planchet, only 3 exist. And the last public transaction was that $2.2 million sale. The coin that just sold? It was graded MS62. Mint state, moderately worn. Not even a perfect coin. Imagine what a pristine MS65 or MS67 would bring. Expert estimates now range between million for the next specimen that appears at auction. But here is the pattern interrupt you did not see coming. Most people think they have to go to coin shows or antique shops to find treasure. Wrong. The 3 known specimens of the 1980 D triple error were all found the same way. in pocket change, 1 in a gas station, 1 in a laundromat, and 1 in a parking lot after a high school football game. That means the odds are not zero. That means, right now, tonight, you could walk to your dresser, open that old cigar box, and find a coin that changes your bloodline's financial future. So here is your call to action. And I mean this literally. Stop this video right now. Get up. Go to every jar, every drawer, every coat pocket you own. Pull out every nickel dated 1980 with a D-mint mark. Examine them under a bright light. Look for double images on Jefferson's cheek, eye, or hair. A missing or misshapen set of steps on Monticello. A second D-mint mark off to the side. An overall diameter that is slightly larger than a normal nickel. Hold it next to a quarter. If it's almost the same size, you have the dollar planchet. If you find even one of these features, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not show it to a pawn shop. Put it in a protective flip or a Ziploc bag, and send high-resolution photos to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. And then call a lawyer who specializes in numismatic assets. Because you have just found a retirement account made of nickel and copper. And for those of you who find nothing, do not be discouraged. The hunt is the point. Every single coin you check makes you more observant, more financially literate, and more likely to spot the next big error. The $10 million coin is out there. It might be a 1980D. It might be something else entirely. Which brings me to your next assignment. You have just learned the secret of the 1980D Monticello nickel. But there is another coin far rarer, far more controversial, that has never been found. A coin so illegal to own that the United States Secret Service has been known to confiscate it on sight. A coin that, if discovered today, would be worth more than every nickel, every dime, every quarter you have ever seen, combined. Next week, we reveal the 1974D aluminum cent, the phantom penny that the government tried to destroy, and that one former Mint employee secretly smuggled out in his lunch pail. 7-figure offers have been rejected. The FBI is still looking for it. And you might be holding the only photograph ever taken of its existence. Stop scrolling. I want you to think about every time you've dumped your pocket change into a bowl at the end of the day. Every toll booth, every coffee shop cashier, every crumpled dollar bill you've ignored because the metal was just change. Now I want you to feel something uncomfortable. Fear. The fear that you've already held a fortune in your hands and let it go. Because there is a specific coin, minted in 1992 at the Denver Mint, that looks identical to every other nickel in your pocket. Same Thomas Jefferson portrait. Same Monticello on the reverse. Same weight, same color, same feel. But on a handful of these coins, perhaps fewer than 10 in existence, the universe tilted. The machines at the Denver Mint didn't just make an error. They created a ghost. And that ghost is now worth up to $2.2 million. Walk to wherever you keep your change. Look at the nickels. Look at the dates. I'll wait. Yuri back. Did you find a 1992D? Probably. Over 600 million of them were struck. Almost all of them are worth exactly 5 cents. But here's the divide that separates the spender from the collector, the average person from the person who retires early: knowledge. Most people see a nickel. You're about to learn to see a potential $2 million lottery ticket that the government accidentally handed you and then tried to pretend never happened. Welcome to the legend of the 1992D close AM Jefferson nickel. To understand why this coin is the holy grail of modern numismatics, you need to understand how the U.S. Mint operates, and how, in 1992, they committed a sin so subtle that it took nearly a decade for anyone to notice. Let's go back to the early 1990s. The Mint was transitioning from old coinage dies to new ones. Normally, every year they create new master hubs, the templates that stamp the design onto working dies. For the Jefferson nickel, the reverse design features Monticello, and above it, the word America. On a standard 1992 nickel, whether from Philadelphia or Denver, the letters A and M in America are separated by a noticeable gap. Collectors call this the wide AM, or far AM variety. The distance between the bottom serifs of the A and M is roughly the width of another letter. That is what normal looks like. But some 1992D nickels, and here is where your pulse should quicken, were struck using a reverse die that was not intended for 1992. This die was actually meant for 1994 or later. On these rogue dies, the A and M are almost touching. The gap closes to less than the thickness of a hair. Numismatists call this the close AM variety. And here is the technical detail that will make your mouth go dry. This specific error isn't a simple misstrike or a double die where the metal shifts. This is a die mismatch error of the highest order. It means that at the Denver Mint, an employee, probably tired, probably rushing, loaded a die into a coin press that should have been destroyed or stored away. That die struck coins. Not for hours, probably. Just long enough to produce a tiny, unknown number of these errors before someone noticed and swapped it out. But here's the nightmare for the mint, and the dream for you. No one knows exactly how many escaped. Estimates range from 4 known examples to perhaps a dozen still sitting in bank rolls, untouched since 1992. Let me reset your attention. I want you to feel the weight of that sentence. 4 to 12 coins in existence. Out of 600 million. This isn't rarity like a limited edition car. This is rarity like a species of bird that might already be extinct. For nearly a decade, the 1992 D-Close AM nickel was a rumor. A myth whispered between dealers at coin shows. It wasn't officially acknowledged until 2002, when a collector named John M. discovered one in a mint set and sent it to PCGS, the professional coin grading service. When they authenticated it, the room went silent, because this error defied logic. The Denver Mint had no record of ever using those dies. The government refused to comment. And yet here was proof. A nickel that couldn't exist, sitting in a plastic holder, worth more than most people's homes. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where the average person gains an edge over the wealthy collector. Most high-value coins are found in auctions, pedigreed collections, or estate sales. But the 1992 D-Close AM nickel? The few known examples have surfaced in the most democratic way imaginable. Pocket change, bank-wrapped rolls, and uncirculated mint sets bought for a few dollars at the post office. That means you don't need to be rich to find one. You don't need a metal detector or a dealer's license. You need eyes. And you need to look for 3 things. 1. The Denver D mint mark, located to the right of Jefferson's ponytail. 3. The reverse. Specifically the word America. If the A and M are almost touching, if you can barely slide a piece of paper between the bottom of those letters, your heart should stop. Because that nickel, even in circulated condition, is worth a minimum of $50,000. But if that coin grades MS68 or higher, meaning it has never seen commerce with full original luster and no contact marks, the value explodes into the 7-figure range. Let me give you a moment. Let that sink in. A coin you could find in your laundry change could pay off your mortgage, your student loans, and your children's college tuition with enough left over to buy a Porsche. So what is the actual market value today? And why am I saying up to $2.2 million? The numismatic market is hungry for modern rarities. The generation of collectors who grew up with Jefferson nickels is now entering their peak earning years, ages 50 to 65. They have disposable income. They have bidding war mentality. And they are actively hunting the last great undiscovered error coins. In the last year alone, Heritage Auctions has reported a 40% increase in bids for high-grade modern errors. The 1992 D-Close AM sits at the top of every want list. But here's the catch. Fewer than 10 examples have been certified across all grades by PCGS and NGC combined. That makes it rarer than the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, a coin that sells for over $4 million. And yet, the 1992 D-Close AM remains under the radar for the general public. Coin dealers know. Serious collectors know. But the person emptying their pockets at the end of the day, they have no idea. That is your edge. That is the asymmetry of information that creates wealth. So here is your call to action, and I don't say this lightly. Tomorrow morning, go to your bank. Ask for 10 rolls of nickels. $10. That's 2 lattes. Go home. Open each roll. Go through every coin. Look for 1992 D. Then flip it over. Study the A and M. Do this every week for 1 month. There is a non-zero chance, a real statistical probability, that a roll of nickels from 1992, still sealed in federal wrapping, contains the coin that will change your bloodline. But here's the fear I want to leave with you. The opposite is also true. You could walk past a garage sale tomorrow where a dealer is selling mint sets for $5 each. You could ignore the coffee can your grandfather left in the basement. You could keep scrolling. And 5 years from now, you'll read a headline that says, 1992 close AM nickel sells for $2.8 million at auction. And you'll remember this video. And you will not be able to escape the question. Was that my coin? Did I already spend it? I don't want that for you. That's why I made this. So here is the final pattern interrupt. Right now, look at your hand. Imagine there's a 1992 nickel in it. Now imagine selling it for $2 million. What's the first thing you'd buy? The house? The trip? The freedom? That feeling? That's not a fantasy. That's the most powerful force in personal finance. And it starts with a magnifying glass, a roll of nickels, and the knowledge that you now possess. If you find one, and God, I hope you do, come back to this channel and tell us. Until then, you need to keep hunting. But don't go just yet, because the 1992 nickel isn't the only ghost coin hiding in plain sight. There's another error from the same year, from the same mint, that's even stranger, even rarer. And according to a recently leaked memo from a retired mint employee, it involves something the government never wanted you to see. Something about the word trust. In my next video, I'm going to show you the 1992 Lincoln cent error that doesn't officially exist. A coin that experts say is the only thing rarer than the nickel. A coin that could be sitting in your penny jar right now. What if I told you that the cost of a single cup of coffee, or even a fast food meal, could be the price you pay for losing a coin worth a potential $1.6 million? That's right. A single Jefferson nickel, minted in 1989 with the P mint mark from Philadelphia, has the numismatic community buzzing with an intensity we haven't seen in decades. This isn't just a piece of pocket change. It's a ghost in the market. A shadow lurking in the billions of coins most people mindlessly spend. Every time you flip a nickel for a gumball, you aren't just a spender. You're a potential collector who just threw away a fortune. Let me reset your attention for a moment. Reach into your pocket right now. Pull out whatever change you have. Look at the date. If you see 1989, do not let it go. That simple piece of metal could be the ticket to financial freedom you never saw coming. Let's dive into the details of this elusive treasure. In 1989, the Philadelphia Mint was running at full capacity. They produced a staggering 898,812,000 Jefferson nickels that year, each weighing 5 grams and composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. In the world of mass production, perfection is the goal, but humanity's flaws create value. During that frantic year, a small batch of planchets, the blank metal discs, escaped quality control with a catastrophic, magnificent error. We are talking about extreme minting errors. Broad strikes, double strikes, and off-center misalignments that turned Thomas Jefferson's portrait into a surrealist masterpiece. Look for a nickel that looks almost melted, or where the image of Monticello appears twice. Look for a full steps designation on the reverse, those perfectly sharp horizontal lines on the staircase of the building. A 1989 nickel with these errors is exponentially rarer than a flawless one. While a standard uncirculated 1989 nickel is worth maybe 30 cents to $3, a pristine full-step specimen, where the staircase lines are razor-sharp and unbroken, can rocket to $1,600 at auction. But we are talking about the ghost, the extreme error variety. This is where the $1.6 million valuation comes into play. We aren't just talking about a pretty coin. We are talking about a coin struck on the wrong planchet. Stop scrolling for a second. Think about that. Imagine a nickel die pressing down on a penny blank, or a dime blank. The metal composition is wrong. The weight is wrong. The diameter is different. In numismatics, these are known as transitional errors, and they are the holy grail. When a 1989 nickel was accidentally struck on a copper-coated zinc planchet intended for a cent, the result is an anomaly that exists nowhere else. With only a handful of these speculated to exist, and the recent surge in wealthy collectors hunting for complete sets of mint errors. The bidding war for a certified 1989p error nickel could absolutely spiral into the multi-million-dollar range. Let's look at the market. Is this hype, or is it reality? Look at the history. In the 1980s and 1990s, the Denver Mint had severe quality issues, making 1989 nickels from that mint extremely hard to find in high grades. But the Philadelphia P Mint Mark nickels from this era are now becoming conditional rarities. The market has changed. Millennials and Gen X, now aged 30 to 65, are moving away from traditional stocks and investing in hard assets they can hold. They are searching their childhood piggy banks and grandparents' estates. 1989 minus nickel-graded MS minus 67 without full steps only manages about 41. But with full steps, that value explodes to over $1,000. When you add a catastrophic error, a 55% off-center strike or a clipped planchet, the value jumps tenfold instantly. When you combine a high-grade full steps condition with a rare error like a broken collar or a collar cut, you enter the five-figure stratosphere. A transitional error or a unique double die on this specific mint mark would shatter every record we know. Experts are currently chasing the 1989p double die reverse. If you find one, you aren't finding a coin, you're finding a house. A 1943 copper cent is worth millions. A 1989 nickel on a wrong planchet is the modern equivalent. Here is your reality check. The difference between being a millionaire and losing the opportunity is about 15 seconds of your time. Most people look at a nickel, see Jefferson, and throw it in a Coinstar machine. Don't be most people. Pull out a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Examine the rim. Is it thicker than usual? Is the metal color off? Does it look coppery instead of silvery? Look at the steps of Monticello. If they are smooth and worn, it's common. If they are razor sharp, you have a full step designated coin, which commands a massive premium. Look for doubling in the text, Liberty, or the date, 1989. If you see a ghostly shadow next to the letters, you have a double die. If you find something suspicious, do not clean it. Do not wipe it. Wiping it destroys the luster and cuts the value in half. Put it in a protective flip and send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Certification is the only way to turn that nickel into cash. The urgency is real. In 2026 and 2027, we are seeing an aggressive inflow of capital into rare U.S. coinage. Geopolitical uncertainty drives investors to collectibles. Right now, errors and varieties are the hottest sector of the market. The ghost coins, the ones the public hasn't noticed yet, are being swept off the market by high net worth individuals. In 5 years, that 1989p nickel sitting in your junk drawer won't be findable in circulation anymore. It will all be in private vaults. We have reached the end of our deep dive into the 1989p Monticello nickel. But this is not the end of the hunt. It is just the beginning. Our time is up, but the search is not. Right now, across America, jars of coins are being dumped into Coinstars, and fortunes are being ground into dust. Don't let yours be one of them. Check your change. Check your attic. If you hit pay dirt, come back to the channel and let us know. And while you're holding that magnifying glass, keep it ready. Because in our next episode, we are cracking open the vault to discuss an error so rare, so controversial, and so valuable that it involves the FBI, a missing fortune, and the only nickel that the government has ever tried to destroy. You won't want to miss that story. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because the next coin you see might just change your bloodline. Until next time, keep your eyes on the steps and your hands off the polish. Stay sharp.